We went to Baker County Courthouse yesterday. There was a Back the Blue rally, and they all said there's no problem with racism in Baker County.
Keep them out of your country!
I never experienced racism. I never knew really what it was till I moved here.
So there used to be a lot of Klan here in McClenny.
I think it still is. They've masked it a lot. They're still here.
Weren't there flyers for a KKK group being handed out here in this neighborhood a while ago?
Yes, there was. It angered me. I mean, I'm human because I have feelings. I see people as human beings.
How did it go, your rally yesterday?
It was horrible. We were peacefully protesting, and it was a young man out there in people's face screaming with bullhorns. Baker County Sheriff's Office, almost the whole department was out there, and they did nothing.
There were a lot of law enforcement there compared to the courthouse.
Exactly.
At the courthouse, the sheriff walked around,
It was peaceful.
shaking hands.
Exactly.
Clapping
Because
shoulders.
those are his people. In Baker County, I feel like we're nothing to them.
Tell me about the mural in the Baker County Courthouse.
We don't want to burn it up or throw it away. We just don't want it in the courthouse when we're going for justice. And when you get there, you see the KKK. The first thing gonna come to my mind is, am I gonna get a fair trial?
The Ku Klux Klan is not heritage. That is a hate group.
The simple inclusion of these hooded Klansmen on horseback is not what's riled John Phillips and other attorneys with the group Florida Justice. It's that this mural is hanging inside the Baker County Courthouse.
Jacksonville civil rights lawyer John Phillips sees a clear line between imagery like the KKK mural and the systemic injustices his clients face.
When I go to a courthouse, and it's my neighboring county, when I go to a courthouse and I see a mural with the Klan literally on it, this is a real problem, and it's out of the woods now. It's in our backyard.
Phillips is now representing Sissy Shepard in a civil suit after her son Keegan was killed by his neighbor.
So Cece, this is where your son was killed. I was wondering if you guys could tell me what happened that night.
This particular evening, he had came to my house and said he wanted to have date night with his wife, Ellie, who was 5 months pregnant. That evening, I was watching Eniley, his daughter. My daughter knocked on the door. My daughter didn't tell me at first until we got halfway over here that Keegan had been shot. I could see him laying on the ground. I sat there and watched.
So what did the detectives tell you? When did you guys start getting a picture of what had happened?
So right behind us is Michael Centani's house. So Keegan worked at a car wash. They have the sleeves that go on the windshield wipers. And that or something else had blown into Centani's yard. He had left a note on Keegan's car that said, "Watch out for your trash neighbor."
A little piece of trash.
Over a piece of trash. So Keegan pulls up with his wife. They're in the car. He bangs on the window. Keegan's just like, "Go away, go away." I'm with my wife. So both men had firearms. Florida's a stand your ground state, which applies to both. Keegan had a right to protect his wife, his property that was being banged on, and himself, got out, and ultimately was shot and killed, in this vicinity.
He did not deserve what he got. And that was murder. He was point blank murdered. They murdered my son, and they got by with it.
Phillips views the killing of Keegan Von Roberts as a stand-your-ground case, a controversial law that some critics have described as legalized lynching. How is stand-your-ground different from self-defense?
For the entire history of this country, without exception, there has been a right to justify homicide. But what they did is kind of supercharge it with this immunity system. Police are not supposed to arrest. Prosecutors are not supposed to prosecute. Judges are supposed to release you.
But isn't there a due process to be able to claim stand your ground?
If Michael Centani was never arrested, and he was never arrested, how was there ever due process? The crime scene photos that police took at Centani's house, I mean, you see guns of every magnitude. There's some level of logbook where he had been logging his neighbor's comings and goings.
Michael Centani told police he'd been surveilling Von Roberts because he believed he was a drug dealer and that during a confrontation months before the killing, Von Roberts brandished a gun. Investigators corroborated Sentani's account, saying this gave him reason to fear for his life the night he shot Von Roberts after a dispute about garbage.
There's a level of premeditation there for somebody to leave their house and start a confrontation and then wind up the victor in it. What they've done was stand your ground and say, no. Don't even arrest them. At some point, if you've taken somebody's life, let's let a judge or jury take a look at that.
Another famous stand your ground case, the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case. Zimmerman was following Trayvon Martin, and that's okay?
Yeah, so in Zimmerman's case, like Sentani in a lot of ways, he's the neighborhood watch guy. He sees a young black male, Trayvon Martin. The way that they spun it is, okay, yeah, I went after him with a gun, but then Trayvon started to attack me, and then he became the aggressor, so I shot and killed him. Same thing with Keegan Roberts. The provision of immunity for stand your ground is vastly disproportionate, such that white people tend to get it. Black people tend to not.
A 2015 study on stand your ground defense claims in Florida found that a defendant is 2 times more likely to be convicted in cases that involve white victims compared to those involving non-white victims.
In places like Baker County and the myriad other counties like it, in cases like Keegan Von Roberts, Trayvon Martin, like all these cases, is the past, the system of impunity and of white supremacy influencing criminal justice of today?
All of the laws that tend to be systemically racist or problematic have a level of fear and racism baked in, including stand your ground. And don't tell me that that's not, when the people that created those laws benefit from it, that it's not intentional.
Location emergency.
I had a neighbor pull a gun on me. Send police and emergency personnel.
Okay, was somebody shot, sir?
Yeah. He threw trash on the ground, and I brought it back over to him and said, "Stop leaving your trash on the ground." God damn it, this is so bad. His wife or girlfriend is outside right now.
My son, Keegan, well, he'll be forever 22. He was a 10-pound baby. He's always been a very happy person. He was a big guy. He wore a big smile on his face. He fell in love with Ellie. They were high school sweethearts. They got married, and they had a 2-year-old at the time of his demise. So he just loved being a father and loved being married.
He did an amazing job.
He did.
Raising my daughter, and my daughter loves him so much. She's still asking for him, waiting for him to come home.
Robert's mother and wife are calling for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to make an arrest.
What was he like as a father?
If he took a nap, she took a nap. If he walked, she walked, you know. He just was a big old kid himself, so.
I'm not gonna fall in the nasty dirt because I don't want to get my dress all muddy.
Right.
How do you explain to her what happened to her father without making her fearful or angry or bitter?
Ellie's done a very good job on that part because she has told her that sometimes people won't like you and they'll do things to you to hurt you, and then you just end up in heaven.
That's me when a baby, my dad, and my mother. And that's me in my mom's belly. And we was all in the pictures.
When they came to the scene, they assumed that it was my son that was the aggressor. They did not assess, they assumed.
What do you base that on?
I base it on the fact that my son was black and Michael Sentani was white.
And where did you shoot him at?
God damn it, the incident occurred in the street.
My son was killed beside his car, not in the street. And stand your ground, you've already said in your head, I'm going to take this loaded gun over here. and approach two people in a vehicle. You leave the safety of your home and start a fight and shoot your way out and call it stand your ground.
In a 9-page report explaining their decision in this case, the Jacksonville State Attorney's Office stated that they believed Centani foolishly initiated conflict with Von Roberts, but that did not extinguish his rights to self-defense under Florida criminal law. They added that Centani's claim that Von Roberts pulled a gun on him is corroborated rather than refuted by independent physical evidence, including the fact that Von Roberts' gun was unholstered when the body was found. Michael Centani and his attorney did not respond to our requests for comment. Sissy continues to fight for justice in Keegan's name here in Florida, keeping her family back in Indiana up to date on her efforts.
I come from a very prejudiced place. When I stepped here, I'd never seen prejudice like I've seen it here. This
Really?
place is horrible, yes.
Because Indiana is, well, the
Very.
stronghold of
Yes.
the Klan, right? So how is this place different or worse?
I guess they're not as open. Here, it just doesn't matter. They show it. They don't care.
Sissy, who is mixed race, has inherited a KKK legacy of her own.
My grandfather was one.
He was a what?
He was a KKK member. He's seen many hangings, and we have friends in Indiana who have seen many hangings. Their forefathers, their parents, their grandparents.
Do you have memories of the Klan as a child?
Oh, yes. I've been in a KKK rally, rode right into it. I can remember being in the car with my uncle, and they stopped us on the tracks and said, "You're not going anywhere."
Do you see a link between the system that the KKK represented and some of the laws and some of the issues that we're dealing with today?
A lot of the link that I see was just ignorance is bliss. I just think it was something that they got by with. The hatred just grew.
They are trying to destroy 2,000 years of Western culture, mainly white culture, erase it from the books, and create a new world that is not going to have a place for us. There's not going to be a place for us, and that's the problem.
There was a time in this country where white people could almost with impunity take the lives of African Americans. And I know it's not the same, but it feels like almost similar, right? Or am I crazy?
Whether they're talking about stand your ground or police brutality, I don't disagree. The baked-in racism, the baked-in systemic bias and injustice that has created such untipped scales, how is that not, very close to the legalization of lynching? Discounting human life by law is pretty close.
Love is so important in this world. And when you start taking that away and you're filling their minds with hatred and violence, it's a sad, sad place to live.
For the Ku Klux Klan! We'll be here today, tomorrow, and forever!
It's a generational curse. It has to be broken.